You're at your old trusty boat. You call my tea sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras.
Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where we sit down with everyday people who do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerome Rand. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today we finally have an interview. I was able to very easily grab my old friend Russ, who has a boat here in the boatyard and is about to splash it actually tomorrow. And I caught him before he took off, so we get to talk about all sorts of stuff, a little bit of sustainable farming, a little bit of schooner action, and then his experience up here in Maine. So absolutely a pleasure to sit down with Russ and chat, and hopefully within maybe a few days or a few weeks, we might be able to see the vantage point from his better half as well. So we will see. Other than that, as always, if you want to support the show, head over to Patreon and look up Sailing into Oblivion, or I'll put the link in the description for you. Make it super easy. Love the support. Big shout out to my Patreon family. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for continuing your support. And without further ado, let's hear from Russ. All right, so the game plan is you just want to you sort of get comfortable wherever you are. And then you just want to get that microphone pretty much within about 2 inches in the old mouth, and then give me a little sound check.
All right, here we go.
Russ.
Sound check, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's the levels are perfect. I expected nothing less. Russ, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on and coming back to Rockland. We missed you. You know, I've been up here for almost a month now.
Yeah, well, I was here before you, so.
Oh, you were? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Getting everything ready?
Here in April and then again in May.
Oh, okay.
So freezing my ass off in April.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it was pretty chilly when I first got up here, but it hasn't. I mean, the weather's been surprisingly pretty mild, and we've only had 2 rain days at work.
Yeah.
Well, so normally it's I have a feeling, because normally I don't get up here until June, until right about now.
Yeah.
But you can see since I've been up here, we've cleared the yard out pretty well. We'll have Dave on the podcast and debate about that one.
There you go.
So what type of boat is it that you have out here?
At Cape Dory 36.
And what year is it?
1984 or 85.
Oh, okay,
Depends on who you talk to.
Oh, right. And how long have you had it?
About 6 years now.
Nice.
Yep.
And you guys have been living aboard just in the summertime?
Just in the summer, yeah.
Cruising Penobscot Bay?
Yep.
Have you taken it anywhere else?
Down to Casco. Well, actually, no. We're going to Casco Bay this year.
Okay. Where's that?
Down by Portland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So still in Maine, yeah.
We do Cape Dory does a cruise, the Northeast Fleet of Cape Dory.
Oh, like a rendezvous sort of
like,
thing?
Yeah. And we have a bunch of Cape Dories. Actually, a bunch of people without Cape Dories come to.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Just for the party.
Bless you with fanfare. Like, oh, we wish we had one.
Right. But no, we're going down to Casco Bay this year. We normally do a week in the first week in August.
Oh, okay.
We came here on our Cape Dory 28.
Yeah.
Which we sailed from Lake Champlain to here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you must have to go through like locks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I've been through over 200 and something locks.
Jeez.
If I counted.
Holy cow. Is that just from that trip?
No. We took when the kids were small, we took them to like out the Erie Canal to Lake Ontario.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And we sailed around in Lake Ontario, and then we came down the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Yeah.
To Montreal, sailed past Montreal, and then down the Richelieu River back into Lake Champlain.
All on the Cape Dory 28?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
and how many kids?
2 kids. They were 7 and 9.
So 4 of you on a 28-foot boat?
Yep.
That must have been a little
4 of us and about 1,000 Beanie Babies.
Oh, yeah. I remember those.
Yeah.
Beanie Babies.
It took 3 dinghy trips to bring all the Beanie Babies out.
Did you use that as like their mattress to lay
I told them, you got to have a place for you to sleep here too. You know? Don't worry about it, Dad.
Hey, well, honestly, that's one of the job. You know, it's a forgotten job of the captain is not only to make sure the crew is safe, but to also make sure they're having a good time.
That's right.
At least that's a good captain, right? Oh man. Well, before we get into any sailing stuff, I wanted to ask you more about your daughter's farm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is going on with that? Because I've only gotten little snippets, but it sounds really interesting.
She lives on a farm. They are totally off grid. They grow all their own food. They make most of their clothes. She makes her leather pants. She makes leather shoes for herself. Everything.
Wow. Okay.
He'll make furniture. He makes all their utensils.
So is it just her and her husband?
Her husband, yes.
Okay, and no kids.
There's a kid now. Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a 5-year-old
So it's
granddaughter.
It's kind of like a homestead.
Yeah. That's kind of the way they think they'd like to look at it as.
And this is in Vermont?
Yeah. Chelsea, Vermont.
And is it one of those things where they're able to sustain that through like selling produce and things, or they work
not
really hard
interested
for a
in
while?
selling anything.
Okay.
She told me they live on about $6,000 a year.
Wow.
And $3,000 of that is the car.
That I think for most people today, that's like incomprehensible.
Right. Well, it was for me.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm sort of in that realm. I mean,
well, right.
a lot of money goes into the boat, and I kind of don't count that.
Right.
But for actual just living expenses, it's pretty much because I don't have a car or anything. It's food,
Right.
and entertainment, I guess, usually in liquid form.
Right. But her husband, when they got together, he moved. He asked me to borrow my truck, and so he could move his stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out what he moved was a backpack and 1,500 pounds of winter squash.
Whoa. Okay. Wow.
So,
Like all in cans or?
no, just
ready
like
to be
butternut
canned.
squashes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, that's their mainstay for winter.
Oh, that's
A lot of root vegetables, squash,
nutrients.
and
Okay.
turnips and carrots and potatoes.
Are they canning all this stuff? Or
Rarely
not
can anything.
jarring? It's not canning. What do they call it where you put it in the mason jars?
Yeah, canning.
Canning. Okay.
They make a lot of cheese because they have a cow,
Okay.
and so they make like 2 pounds of cheese every day or every other day.
2 pounds of cheese from one cow
Yeah,
every other day?
well, I think it's like 10 gallons. So they get 5 gallons of milk a day from the cow. So, or they used to, but now they had a calf.
Yeah.
So now they give more of it to the calf.
Oh, right.
But they had their root cellar was chock full of cheese.
How long have they been doing that for?
About 4 or 5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And they must enjoy it.
Oh yeah. Presumably.
You must. You've been to the farm, right?
Oh yeah.
And what do you think?
Oh, it's great. It's so intense or not intense, but it's so neat to see some of the clever things that he'll make. That he'll just like carve something out of wood.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like all these tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they have a hay rake, and he just carved it out of a tree.
Oh, really?
And it's just like you want a spoon.
I'll carve you one
He
up.
carved you one up, yeah, and the bowl, and he made the chairs out of saplings. And
Well, I
stuff.
suppose if you don't have a job,
Right.
and your job is really maintaining your land and utilizing your land so
Mm-hmm.
that you can sustain yourself on it, then you've
Yeah.
got the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They don't have jobs, so they have but he's pretty clever because he hays all the hay with a scythe, all by hand.
Oh, like a sickle, right?
Yeah, a scythe, big sickle.
Yeah.
Which if you're not careful with it, you can cut your foot right off with it.
Oh my God, I can only
I mean,
imagine.
it's pretty
yeah.
razor sharp.
Yeah.
But he'll go out and he'll scythe for a couple hours till he gets tired, and then he goes and rakes, and then it's not like he has to have this whole acre field cleared today.
Yeah, there's nobody, stooping over and being like,
Right.
"Hey,
Yeah, do it.
time's ticking."
Right.
I'm assuming he probably doesn't even wear a watch.
I don't think he does.
I'm hoping.
But he cuts all his firewood with a bow saw, and
Yeah, so there's just no gasoline
no gas
needed for anything.
no gasoline, no power. nothing like
And
that.
oh my gosh, and they've sustained themselves for 6 years doing that.
Oh yeah,
And I'm assuming
he's been doing it himself for like 30.
Oh, so he's the influencer here.
Yeah, well, she wanted that lifestyle, so that's why when they got together.
Well, and as a father, what did you think when this initially sort of kicked off?
Well, again, I was absolutely amazed that it was even freaking possible.
Right.
So,
I'll bet. Well,
and
because it's so off the norm for
right,
these days.
and it's just like I had no idea that you could do this, like that you could live without a job.
Yeah,
Basically,
How many acres do they have?
They have 23 acres.
23 acres.
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, that's a pretty large chunk. And
well,
is it?
They seem to think it's not.
Oh well, yeah.
But because it takes like 10 acres of field for a cow to graze.
Just one cow.
One cow. So.
Yeah, because that's all they really eat, unless you're
Right.
pumping them full of corn and all that
No,
stuff.
no
which
grain for
it's
these
all
guys.
grass fed, right?
All grass fed. Yeah.
And that's essentially a living lawnmower.
Right.
So do they just probably have it sectioned off maybe so it'll eat all the grass in one field and then they switch it
well,
over?
then you got to be careful because if you mow it down too low, the grass won't come back fast enough.
Right, so you can't let them chew it all
you
the
let
way.
them sit on it for like so many hours, and then you move it over here for so many hours, and then you come back. It's all planned out. She has charts.
Oh,
that show
wow.
where
Yeah, I'll
everything
bet.
goes and stuff.
And do they have chickens and everything too?
No chickens.
Not egg eaters.
They're not egg eaters. They're not meat eaters because they have no
Oh.
refrigeration.
Right. Well, but eggs you can have
Right.
for
And-
weeks outside
And
of a fridge.
the fields near their house are filled with insects.
Oh, really?
And so I would think the chickens would be fat as all get out, but they don't like them.
That's my kind of chicken.
Right.
Big meat bird,
Right.
Only eating grasshoppers.
But they just don't seem to care for it.
Oh,
So
okay.
They grow their own wheat. They grow their own oats for oatmeal. They grind their own wheat to make bread.
That's so cool.
She's trying now to start a school where you would go and stay there and work with it alongside her.
Oh, to be able to learn sort of the
To be able
techniques
to
and
be able to
everything.
learn just what they do, because so many people are just like so flabbergasted that this is possible
Yeah.
that she wants to sort of start a school that you would go and stay there
Yeah.
on the farm and learn what they do and all the different techniques that they use, and because not everybody is this far out.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you do have to be sort of savvy. You can't. It's not like you can just go throw a tent up in the woods somewhere and then just survive.
Right.
It's people think you can do that, but I mean, take Chris McCandless, the guy from Into the Wild.
Oh, right.
You
yeah.
must be familiar with that story,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, that's a tragic ending, obviously, but
Right.
I mean, he was out in that bus for like 100-something days,
Right.
but obviously that ended. But he was, I think, under the guise of basically foraging for food and obviously hunting.
Right.
But he was foraging some of the wrong stuff, supposedly. I
Yeah.
don't think they actually have like a stamped "we know what happened" thing. There's a
I
lot
don't
of
think
theories.
anybody will ever know. So,
Yeah, but your daughter's actually her daily grind is using the land
right.
and working the land to be able to sustain on the land.
Sustain, and they're very careful about what they put on the land. Like, they take their ashes from their wood stove, spread it on the land.
Yeah.
I offered him my ashes, and he said no because I burn newspaper.
Oh, you filthy, filthy devil, Russ. Well, there's toxins in there.
Well,
you know,
right, exactly,
right?
and stuff. And he wants to know what's going on the property.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so cool, man.
And it's just, and it's just everything is, and it's so well thought out. Like they plan all their meals, all winter long. So
Oh,
they,
I'll bet, yeah.
So because if they don't, they run out of food. That's that.
I know that feeling.
Right.
Well, and as you're talking about this, I can relate to a lot of that, because the moment I untie and I'm headed out, I mean, yeah, you can fish,
Right.
but you're not always catching stuff.
Right.
So it's sort of utilizing and trying to sustain off the things that I've brought. But also, I suppose, trying to catch rain because I'm always trying to do that.
Yeah, right.
But boy, do they have any electricity like solar panels?
They do have a solar panel. It runs 3 LED lights in the house.
Okay, yeah.
Because they found that they don't like candles because they're too smoky. Same with kerosene lamps.
Right.
So they prefer the headlamps or these LED lights.
Yeah.
And then it also charges the cell phone that they have.
Oh, okay.
They do have a cell phone, which I've kind of insisted on, especially since when she was pregnant.
Yeah. Right.
I want to know.
Good man. Sometimes you have to press the father button and sort of be like, yeah, we're actually going to be doing. My mom did that to me when I left on the big trip. She said, if you're going to do this, you have to check in every single day. So, and I was happy to oblige.
Yeah. And that was good for us too, because we saw where we were and stuff.
Everybody else got to see it. So that's good. Oh man. Well, I tell you, when I think back, all the way back, even when I was in grade school, I remember they asked us that question of like what you want to be when you grow up. And I think it couldn't have been before 5th grade, somewhere around there. I wrote a paragraph about how I wanted to be a subsistence farmer living in Australia. Obviously, I had no idea about any of this sort of stuff, but somehow it's always been ingrained in my head that there's something special about, you've got this piece of land that you call yours for the time being, and you make it work for you because, in essence, I guess just as humans, all it really is we're able to wake up, do stuff, eat food, and have a shelter over our head when we go to sleep. The rest is just extra.
Yeah, right.
Which I think a lot of times, especially these days, seems to clog up the clog the brain, ruin, just get in the way.
I got to tell you, when the zombie apocalypse comes, I know where I'm going.
What's your plan? Out to the farm?
You got it.
What? You wouldn't use the boat?
Well, I could get I can get the boat close. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Devil's right. Gotcha. I have been posed with that question a few times where it's sort of like, well, what would you do? And right now, because somebody actually asked me this not too long ago, but I have a lot of leftover, like doomsday prepper, long life food.
Yeah, right.
Probably about 6 to 7 months worth if I don't ration it. So if I could fill up my water tanks and get about 30 gallons of diesel, I could take off and I could probably be out at sea, I would think, for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the bombs start dropping.
Right. That's right.
Question is, where do you go?
Yeah, right. Well, is that any safer than anywhere else? That's the trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought in the Atlantic, you've got the Bermuda High,
right,
and then you've got the Azores High, and they're typically pretty calm areas. You do get the hurricane season that disrupts it and stuff. In the South Atlantic, you have the South Atlantic High, which is pretty far south, but it just sits there right in the middle. Yeah. And every once in a while, a Southern Ocean gale will sort of come up to it. But for the most part, it's just this big blob of almost no wind.
Right.
And there's no traffic. There's no air traffic either. No boats, nothing down there.
Yeah.
And it's actually, unfortunately, it's also where the currents have sort of pulled all the plastic trash into. Yeah. So everybody knows about the North Pacific garbage patch.
Right.
But there's one in the South Pacific, the North Atlantic, and the South Atlantic, and the Indian.
Oh, really?
The other ones aren't quite as big. But I sailed right through the South Atlantic one, and for 5 days, there was not a second that I could not see a piece of garbage
really?
Out there. Yeah.
That's pretty too bad.
Yeah, it's I don't know. But it's one of those things where, and it's kind of, I've always said it's like poetic justice, because as this stuff breaks down, the small fish eat it.
Right.
The big fish eat them, and we eat the fish.
We eat the fish.
So we're essentially eating the garbage.
Well, they say everybody has micro balloons of plastic in their blood now.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. And it's because we threw it all in there and acted like, it sort of disappears. But,
well, for years and years and years, we threw garbage just out in the ocean, saying, okay,
"Yeah, well,
out of sight, out of mind."
You can see it on the old charts and stuff, like the dumping grounds and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, when they were doing the majority of that a long time ago, that was sort of before the massive use of plastic. So
Oh, yeah.
remember when you used to buy meat and they wrapped it in paper?
Right. Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
That was great. You probably could have burned it. You probably smiled a lot.
We stopped at Spectacle Island down in Boston Harbor. I don't know if you ever heard of this.
Is that because there's a whole bunch of little dotted islands right out
Right.
there?
It's one of the islands right in the harbor. And it used to be the city dump.
Oh,
It
really?
was a horse rendering plant, and it was the city dump for a long time. And then when they had the big dig, they capped it. And now it's a park, a state park. So you can go there and hang out on this island. And it's a beautiful place, a beautiful view of Boston.
Oh, I'll bet.
Everything. But the beaches are filled with sea glass.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
And pottery shards and just
Yeah.
all kinds of this garbage just pops up. It's just like makes collecting sea glass. It's not fair because
Yeah,
you
it's
just
just
go
like
down and dig
scoop.
and you scoop and you come up with tons of it.
Holy cow. So that's all just a big dump,
Yeah,
but an old school dump.
right. But I mean now it's a beautiful park, and you can walk up there and it's got fields and nice view of the harbor. And
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
It's interesting. We have a big garbage dump that they turned into up in Michigan. That they turned into a ski resort, I
Oh, yeah.
believe.
well,
My
in
memory
Minnesota,
serves.
we lived in Minneapolis for a while, and they had the city had a dump that they just piled it up, made a ski area out of it.
Yeah, plunk a couple riblets in there and a couple chairs, and there you go.
There you go.
In the Midwest, I mean, anything over 300 feet is considered almost like a mountain. It's like, wow, it's got a lot of vertical.
That's right.
Oh, man. Well, I know the other day we had talked a little bit about that passage on, what was it, on a schooner?
On the schooner, the Mystic Whaler.
Yeah, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a great for years and years. In fact, it started
Oh, you got the shirt on.
with Clearwater.
Okay.
The Clearwater is Pete Seeger's boat, and they do educational cruises on the Hudson.
And how big is that boat?
It's 100-foot, but it's a sloop.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Because in order to sail up the Hudson, they just needed a sloop because you're either sailing upwind or downwind.
Right, right.
And so it was like one of these things. I saw an ad on Facebook or something. They were looking for people, and I said to my wife, I said, that would be kind of cool to sail on one of these boats for a little while. And so I called up, and they said, yeah, come on down. And they said, well, you can't get you on the Clearwater, but we can get you on this other boat called the Mystic Whaler, which is 110 foot. It's a steel schooner.
What year was that built?
It's built. It's like 50 years old.
Oh,
It was
okay.
built in Florida. And
It's almost, Sparrow, I think, is like 47.
yeah, it was the guy, Captain John Edgington, used to be the captain of Victory Chimes.
Oh, okay. Right here in Rockland.
Right here in Rockland, yeah. And he bought this boat, and he turned it into this thing. It sleeps 32, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And so so they took a liking to me. I took a liking to them. And so I just started, I'd come down in the spring and the fall. I didn't care so much for the
So this was an
educational-
ongoing thing.
Oh, yeah. I didn't care so much for the educational things, but,
You already know all you're going to need to know.
well, no, it was teaching kids,
Oh.
fifth and sixth graders. We would have like 50 sixth graders,
Gotcha,
come on board, and we'd have to go through a lesson with them.
That's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
But I loved the transits because they were based out of Mystic.
Uh-huh.
And so we would sail from Mystic over to New York, and they'd spend a month there. And then I would hop back on and sail it back with them. So
And how long of a trip is that?
it's like 28 hours.
Okay, so it's an overnight,
It was overnight.
and it's nonstop. You're just going straight.
It's not. Yeah. Well, no, we stopped. They always said we wouldn't stop, but we almost always did.
Yeah, well,
We'd get
bar's
through
almost closed.
From we would leave the it's a Hudson Croton on Hudson music festival. It's a very large music festival with all these big name groups, and we'd be there for the weekend, and we'd give like 1 hour rides
Oh, okay.
and stuff. If you can imagine hauling up sails on a schooner.
Well, and you're in there grabbing stuff and doing stuff. I mean,
yeah, it was quite the chore. But anyway, after that, then we'd head off, and at 5 o'clock at night we'd leave. So we'd be going through New York City in Manhattan around
Oh,
midnight.
wow. Yeah, through Hell's Gate and
Yeah,
stuff?
through Hell's Gate around midnight, which was pretty cool.
That's got to be pretty cool.
That was the most awesome part of the thing. But then we'd usually get over by Port Washington and we'd drop an anchor for a couple hours and then get up in the morning and meander the rest of the way.
And so on that little transit, there's 28 people on there?
No, usually there was like 5 or 6.
Five
of
or
us.
six, yeah. Because
Yeah.
that's sort of like essentially the delivery trip.
Right.
Right.
We could raise the sails with 3 of us
Oh, okay.
if we had to.
Is it pretty hard work?
It's not as hard as you might think.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're heavy. I mean, they're, you know,
Well, I'm trying to think. I mean, because if squall comes in, I look at it and I look at a squall and I see work. I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay, got to put a reef in. Probably gonna get wet. And then I'll go and do it. On a schooner like that, though, it's more of just working the sails and
yeah, we rarely took sails down
yeah.
once we got them up.
I kind of feel like it's sort of like we'll set her up.
Or we did it. You also used to do this trip, which was always fun. At the end of the year, we called it 24 hours of Yukon. we would take 2 classes of Yukon kids, because Avery Point campus was right there.
Yeah.
And we would do that.
Move that mic just a little closer. There.
And we'd get 24, usually 24, 30 kids on board, and we'd sail for 24 hours.
Oh, really?
Right. So they had to do all their shifts and stuff, and we'd break them up. So because they have a Marine, I forget what it was called, but they have a Marine major.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So these kids were in part of that, and
How old are these kids?
college age.
College. Oh,
This was a
okay.
college class.
Hormones thumping through
Oh,
the decks.
geez, yeah.
Oh, I could only imagine.
But it was 24 hours that we
Yeah.
would be out there, and we did it one day in a hurricane.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Which
yeah.
one?
It was Hurricane Juan, I believe.
One.
It was
What year was this?
God, I don't even remember.
They all blend together. Don't worry about
but
it.
it was like 40, 45 mile an hour winds.
Really? That's
So we were basically,
Ugly.
we were out there. We had a staysail and a reef main up. We were just tacking back and forth, realizing that we couldn't go anywhere.
yeah.
We could go downhill, but downwind, but there's no way we could get back.
It's essentially like hove to or
Right.
close, not close reaching. Oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. John Kretschmer, who wrote "Sailing a Serious Ocean,"
Oh,
which is over there.
Yeah.
Big time heavy weather sailor. I
Yeah.
think he's one of the best American captains for sailing there's out there. But he talks about in heavy weather, you can run with it, but if that gets too out of control, you can close reach.
Right.
Or no, he calls it fore-reaching, where absolute minimum sails and you're barely making any headway, but you're doing a little more than hove to.
Right.
So you are inching your way sort of upwind,
Yeah.
but essentially at a snail's pace.
Yeah. Right. Which you don't really care at that point. But
Yeah, you're just sort of like,
But
when is it gonna stop?
we were just tacking back and forth to give them the experience.
yeah.
But at the same time, we realized we couldn't really go anywhere.
How big do the waves get?
They weren't that big because it's in Long Island Sound.
Oh, okay.
You
Well,
know?
still, that's a decent. They get choppy there.
Oh
at
yeah,
least,
it was
so-
choppy, but it wasn't like they were 12 footers or anything.
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
But it was enough to send spray over the bow and
It's exciting.
get some of these kids wet, which
Yeah,
was
right.
always kind of fun.
Teach them a lesson.
That's right. But anyway, they had this boat. They owned it for some 35 years, and they wanted to retire because they're both in their 60s. And so they had put the boat on the market several years ago, and it was sold. A guy, Roger Chrisman, out in Santa Barbara, California,
Yeah.
bought it. He he made all his money in internet.
Oh, right.
something.
Tech stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, tech stuff. I don't know what it was, but anyway, it was just they bought it and they wanted it out in California. So he called me up and said, "Hey, we got to deliver this boat to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale, and then where it's going to be put on a tanker." And
Oh yeah,
ship.
the shipwise sort of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was must have been 30 other boats on this thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're huge. And they sink them down and they sail the boats, or they position the boats on it, and then they refloat it, right?
Yeah. Well, this one, they just picked us up and put us on it.
Oh, they use a crane. Okay.
Yeah. But so it was a blast. We had to go down, and half the crew came from California because, they needed
right,
to learn the boat.
Yeah.
And stuff. The new captain and everything. So
holy cow! Could you imagine, just to pause you for a second, what it would be like? I suppose it'd be like if you won like a $600 million lotto or something, and you're sort of like, oh, okay, so now I can afford a 150-foot schooner and pay 30 people to keep it beautiful and sail it around for me, and I get to like be on it. I feel like that's something I would want to do.
that's right.
Circumnavigate the world that way.
Well, he has several boats out there
Yeah.
that he owns, and they're all power boats and stuff. Most of these kids, they're all captains, but they never really have sailed on schooners before.
Right. Well, it's this old stuff. I mean,
it is.
It's every day for us because we got 3 or 4 of them parked there. We got the Was it the American Spirit that's over there?
Heritage, American. Yeah, I forget.
That one just sold. Chris
really?
was telling me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, for us, we see this all the time. Until I came to Maine, I think I might have seen 1 or 2.
But I'll tell you, it's radically different sailing.
How so?
Well, for one thing, when you cleat a line, you put the clove hitch at the end.
Oh, I don't.
Don't you know?
No, I learned all this stuff in England, and over there they never do it.
Yeah,
they do the 080.
Oh, this was like you just wrap it
a bunch of times.
Just do the figure 8 and call it good.
Yeah.
Because if this 2-inch hawser gets tension on it, you ain't getting it off.
You can't get it off. Yeah, well, that we learned about that mostly due to the tides.
Yeah.
Because in the old times, if you're tied off to a wharf, none of the stuff was floating back in the day.
Right, yeah.
And you had to have somebody who was basically on line watch. So every hour as the tide went out, they'd ease them off. But if you forgot,
right.
fell asleep, if the tension of that boat gets on it, if you've got that cleat hitch, you're not getting it off.
Right.
And then the boat's hanging, and then it just rips the stuff out. So I've always told people, 080, and there's no actual knot in there, but it seizes up on that first little thing.
You take it and you pull it in between the 2 lines, and then you pull it, and it slides in there, and then it can't come out.
Right, exactly.
And stuff. So and it's just that, and the fact that everything you're dealing with is large.
Yeah, and powerful.
Right, and powerful and stuff. And so, I mean, you can get, if you reach your hand through, or try to do the loop around your hand, I mean, that can pull your hand right off.
Yeah,
and stuff. And so,
well, with that one, the one you were on, is that the sloop?
No.
So is that like gaff rigged?
Gaff rigged schooner, yeah.
Wow.
And stuff. So it was pretty fun.
And just a million lines going up there.
Oh yeah.
Do you have to know them all?
I never did.
Well, because
learn them all.
You're not getting paid, right?
Oh yeah, I was paid.
Oh, you were paid?
Oh yeah.
And they didn't have a dog chasing you around and biting you if you didn't know what the. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Rounding Cape Horn.
Yeah.
If for our listeners, anybody looking to see the tall ship sort of experience, the only true footage of a working tall ship, I think it was a 4-masted bark.
Right, something like that.
Rounding Cape Horn, they did full on Atlantic to the Pacific, and this guy was aboard, and he had a video camera. It was like 1920s or something.
We just watched it on the boat.
It's so good, really. Oh man, I loved it in the beginning when he's training up, because the kid's from like Nebraska or something.
Right.
And so he goes out and he's riding those high-end bicycles with the big wheel, and then he's climbing telephone poles and rocking back and forth, trying to thinking that he's going to be doing that, but in the end, I mean, geez, the stuff they go through, and the footage when he's up in the mast looking down. Where they're going through the Cape Horn snorter, and the waves are going basically over the whole thing.
Well, just the idea that they're up in the rigging with no harnesses, no nothing,
Well, that's just every day for Mighty Sparrow here. Right, old girl? No.
But, I mean, it's just like they're out on these yards, working with nothing,
And they don't have shoes on, probably. It's sleeting, freezing cold. But that's, I know this saying probably wouldn't go over well these days, but that's when men were men. I mean, I think about any time I've ever been in a pretty ugly situation or I just feel like complaining out at sea, like, oh, my Musto gear has a leak. And now I've got salt water. I'm just like, boy, my great grandfather sure would probably just slap me right across the face.
Right.
But,
his oilskins.
Yeah, right. But did you guys, we were talking about a specific incident. Didn't you guys run into some heavy weather or something on that trip down?
Well, we avoided it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, we pulled into Cape Charles, Virginia.
That was during the same system that I was in?
No, this was in November.
Oh, this was in November. Oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
And it was another one, it was like before around in Cape Hatteras.
Yeah.
We ended up sitting for a couple days, and, of course, it was always like, yeah, we're leaving tomorrow. Yeah, we're leaving tomorrow.
Looks like it should let up.
And then they would just sort of, there were so many captains on board that I was just like, okay, you guys figure it out.
Yeah, right.
But they all got together and talked, and they said, no, we're going to wait. And I said, sweet. I'm getting paid.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, have at it.
A lay day's a payday.
That's right.
On a delivery, unless
Although
it's
in
in
Cape
the
Charles,
contract.
Virginia, we sort of used up the town.
Oh, what does that mean?
Well, it's not a very big town.
Oh, right,
And, we did everything there was to do in the first 2 daes.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And then after that, we sort of kept the bar in business, though.
How long were you there for?
About a week.
About a week, yeah. I was in Ocean City for 8 days.
Yeah.
And it's hard being stuck. That was the first time I've ever sort of pulled over for weather.
Yeah.
And then gone right back out. And it's a strange feeling. At first, it's kind of this relief. It's like, okay, we're back to life. You get some good food, have a couple beers. But then you're sort of, I don't know, I get into a real antsy phase.
Yeah, right.
And then I start questioning if I made the right call and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But even when we were tied to the dock, I broke through 2 dock lines during that thing.
Really?
I had multiple lines, like maybe 7 or 8 full on, and it was all just tied up to big pilings. But we were being blown, it was a steady 40 to 45.
Really? Wow.
So the boat's heeled over.
Yeah.
The wind noise is crazy. I felt like I was still out at sea, but I wasn't going anywhere, and it was costing me, a couple $100 a day.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Those marinas are not cheap.
Yeah.
I was in this nice marina, super protected, but it was all sport fishers, like multi-million-dollar. Michael Jordan used to keep his
Really? Wow.
sport fisher there. Yeah. Luckily, though, they were really nice, and they went by the West Sail 32 feet.
Yeah. Right.
Which, if you know a West Sail, it's a little bigger than that.
Right.
But they were empty. They hadn't filled up for the season.
Yeah.
And everybody was pretty cool about, nobody wanted to be stuck in there. And
Right. Yeah.
that sort
They
of
knew
stuff.
what this story was.
Yeah.
Well, then we made it by Hatteras, and then we ended up in Charleston, where we got stuck with another one. And that one, we had 40-mile-an-hour winds in the harbor.
In the harbor, yeah.
But
you were rafted up.
We were rafted up to another.
Does that cause any issues with the wind and stuff? Where was the wind coming from?
It was on our bow. It was coming out of the northwest.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it would have been north.
It was very interesting. The John is. I've watched this guy do some amazing things with this boat. That I just shook my head.
Just like,
and we rafted up to this boat, and it was blowing in the 30s when we were pulling up to raft up to it.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, how are we going to do this? And he goes out and he drops an anchor, and we're all like, what's going on? And next thing you know, boom, falls back. We nestled right up against that boat, soft as could be.
Really?
And stuff. We tied the lines. I was like, damn,
I wish I could have felt that confident to do that.
I watched him once. One of the best stories ever is we took a group of 5th graders out on a cruise, supposed to be 3 hours.
On that same boat?
On the same boat.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of the Hudson River, and we got all 4 sails up. We're heeled over, sailing along, and he goes, all right, get ready with the anchor. I was like, what? What are you going to do with this? Is this some kind of weird maneuver you're going to pull on me?
Yeah.
He says, just watch. Sure enough, we dropped the anchor. We stayed in that same spot, all 4 sails up, heeled over like that for 3 hours.
What?
because of the current was so strong.
Oh.
And we got and nobody on the boat realized it. All these kids went out there, lessons, their chaperones, everybody.
Man, we are moving.
Right. It's like, I mean,
Well,
we're
if you
literally
feel, when that boat heels over, it feels like
and the
something's
water's
happening.
rushing by, and we didn't move at all. At the end of the 3 hours, we pulled up the anchor, we took down the sails, we just motored right to the dock, which was right there.
That is some savvy captain action right there. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
But he could maneuver this boat like you couldn't believe.
Yeah.
And stuff for
How long has he been working that boat?
30-something years.
30-something years.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It takes a lifetime to really get to know him.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he would let me steer it all the time and stuff, but I was never anywhere near as good as him. When it was tricky.
Well, but hey, you know what? You put him on your boat over there,
Well,
you might have to show him a thing or two.
I'd be pretty sure that he could figure that one out pretty quick.
Yeah, but initially, for the first 35 seconds, you have got him on lock.
So, but yeah, that was always pretty amazing. To be on that boat. So, but now it's in California. It's on Santa Cruz Island, and
so it made it all the way through.
It made it all the way. They're out there now. They get a full-time crew. They do. I think it's the San Diego Maritime Museum, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Owns it, or he gave it to them, or something like that. And now they're doing. They'll do educational cruises with kids. And they'll do 3, 4, and 5 day cruises with adults and stuff like that. Oh, very
cool. I think that's always sort of the nice way to go. Even if let's say you had unlimited expenses and you wanted to own some big crazy schooner, maybe use it for a few months out of the year. But yeah, I mean, rather than just have this beautiful working boat sitting at a dock doing nothing, making sure that it's used for giving people these experiences, because if we don't do that, the old school sailing ships and stuff, they'll just fade away.
Well, that's just like, like all these wooden schooners that are here.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's Rosebud, Harvey Gamage that we saw down there, and they're all wooden. They carry kids on them.
Yeah.
And stuff, which is great. And the kids get this, semester's experience sailing on one of these boats.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. But if you don't use these boats, they go right to hell fast.
Very fast. Well, and that's sort of the catch-22 is that they're so expensive to maintain.
Right.
And, the only one that I've read quite a bit about is the Bounty. That's unfortunately gone now, but that was one of its biggest issues, is that it was just so expensive. Even, Ted Turner owned that. When he acquired, I don't know, some company, it was actually part of it. It might have been Paramount or something, because they initially just built that thing to burn it down in filming Mutiny on the Bounty, but Marlon Brando wouldn't have it because he was like, I like the boat too much.
Yeah.
And so they ended up building another one, bringing it out to Tahiti, burning that one down, and keeping the Bounty. But in any event, that was its sort of biggest thing, was that it was so expensive to keep that. And it ended up, you just get one person who's like, I've had it, I've thrown way too much money into it, and then they end up selling it off.
Right.
And then you get sort of the hopeful eyes of somebody else until the check comes. And they're like, jeez.
Well, it's like this Spirit of South Carolina that we were tied to was the same sort of thing. It's a working schooner. They would take kids out all the time, but then they ran out of money, and it ended up that two businessmen bought it for like $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And they were like car dealers, but they had no plan for it. They had no idea what to do.
Ooh, see, that's not good.
And so right now the boat's been sitting for almost 6 years, not moved. Just sitting on the dock. And it's a wooden boat, and it's down in South Carolina, so the Torito worms are at it.
It's in Charleston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So downright well that you'd have to take it out and replank it in order to sail it anywhere and stuff.
And the price of lumber these days.
Yeah, right. Especially that kind of lumber.
Well, I think it's a good throwback to those boats are from an era where all boats worked.
Right.
I mean, even that's the popular quote of, they kept asking Joshua Slocum while he was building essentially one of the first pleasure crafts ever. 1894 was when he started building or whatever. And they were like, will it pay?
Yeah, right.
And because that a boat used to just be, how is that thing going to make you money?
Right, exactly.
And then slowly it's transitioned more into, pleasure cruising. But yeah, I mean, those old ships, if there's not some way that they can actually start, bringing in revenue, then yeah, like I said, they just rot unless they have.
Well, we watched
Multi-bajillionaire.
Mayflower was rebuilt at Mystic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about being on this boat at Mystic Seaport.
Oh,
I got to hang out at Mystic Seaport
right.
all the time.
Guilty by association.
Which
cool.
was like, this is like heaven.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, going down there. And of course, they were intimate with the seaport, so I got to go in back doors that not everybody else could go in.
It's kind of like going out to Murph Shack
Right.
here, not everybody knows about that
That's
spot.
right. That's right.
Oh, my
and
God.
stuff. So that was cool watching that happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, I don't know if you pay any attention, but the Acorn Arabella, it's a YouTube thing where they're building a wooden boat out of trees that he cut down out of his property.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
His
cow.
great-grandfather planted these oak trees and cedar trees and stuff, and they are harvesting them, and they're building this boat. It's a 34-foot double-ended sloop or ketch, I guess.
Do they have like a game plan for it?
Yeah. In fact, it's almost done. They are hoping to launch it next year.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
And what's it called?
Acorn to Arabella.
Acorn to Arabella.
Yeah, you should check it out.
I will.
Actually, I've been there to see it because it's right near my mother's house in Massachusetts
Oh, okay.
and stuff. So I've been to see it, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, neat.
And they have a pretty big YouTube following now.
Yeah.
So
Well, those big project ones are pretty interesting, where you get to actually see whether they're renovating a boat
right.
or they're actually building it from the keel up. Then I don't know. It's pretty. I've always thought those are pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, those are the ones I like. I watched that one, Salt and Tar, which is one that's coupled out in California, is building this boat.
All wood boats.
All wood boat. Yeah.
And yet your boat's not wood, is it?
No.
Fiberglass.
But I'm smarter than that.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm trying to get Mike on here, Mike Pease.
Yeah.
Because, he sold his boat.
Yes, I know that.
So first time ever, I got to actually go down below on it.
Oh,
so
really?
That's 1938.
Yeah.
I forget what type of boat it is.
You don't know.
Yeah.
But actually, its sister
all
boat
wood.
is Brilliant.
Oh, that's the name of it?
That's the name of the sister boat, I think, which is a very famous boat.
Oh, really?
It held the record for crossing the Atlantic
Oh, really?
for years.
Oh, okay.
Years and years. In fact, it's only been broken recently, and that was in Mystic Seaport. And actually, I've been on that boat.
It's same size and everything?
I don't think so. I think it might
Little
be a little
bigger?
bigger. Brilliant's bigger, but this
That
is
one was-
I think they build this one from the offcuts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they
it's-
always shrink it down a little bit.
right.
Well, I was shocked. I mean, you go down below on that, and this is a beautiful old boat,
Yeah.
and you feel the age when you get down there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm looking in there, and yeah, there's a couple LED lights or whatever,
Right.
and a VHF radio, but the rest of it, you're sort of looking around thinking, holy cow, this boat could have been out sailing, Long Island Sound before World War II.
Right.
Not a care in the world. Who knows what's coming up? But just the thought of, being in that little bunk
Yeah.
and, under an actual little kerosene light or whatever.
That's
and
right.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I'm hoping to get him on the show because I'd like to talk about obviously wood boats,
Right.
but I want to talk about what it's like to be. He's owned that boat since the 90s,
Oh, really? Huh.
and he has sold it.
Yeah.
And that's a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe he'll tear up. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
he's
see.
talking about buying a Cape Dory.
Yeah, I know. We sort of chatted the other day, so we'll have to see how that goes. But enough about him.
Right.
I got Russ here right now. So Because we're getting close to time.
Okay.
Here, believe it or not, it goes by really
Yeah,
fast.
really,
Doesn't it? I know. It's so painless. It's pretty funny. When I had Murph on here for the first time, he was super nervous.
Oh, really?
Now I put the microphone in front of him. He won't stop.
Yeah, it's right.
Loves it. He's like, oh yeah. As soon as he finds out how many people download it, I don't know. It's like a switch gets flipped. So you and your wife have been coming up here for how many years up to Maine?
7 or 8 now, something like that.
And on that boat for 6 years?
6 years, yes.
So what do you guys typically do? Because I guess I want to frame this in a certain way. I know quite a few people that I've run into down south, all the way from like New Jersey down to Florida, who have always wanted to come up to Maine and spend a summer up here, but they're sort of hesitant because it's very different. You know, there's the intercoastal waterway and the little hops outside and all the marinas and all that sort of stuff. But there's this idea of Maine as this jewel, which I believe it really is, especially Penobscot Bay.
Right.
What do you guys do when you come up here? What's your experience, and why do you keep coming back?
Well,
besides that the boats are already here.
Well, we basically cruise around. You know, we go. Every year we've gone here, we've go to a bunch of old places that we've been to. We go to a bunch. We try to get to a couple of new places that we haven't ever been to.
Now, when you say places, are you talking like harbors or just little coves or islands?
Usually harbors and stuff. I'm not really, you know, we haven't really gone into like little coves all by ourselves and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's I don't know. We go around. Sometimes we have a couple of friends, and we'll say, let's go here and do this, and we'll hang out. You know, Perry's Creek is obviously a fun place.
Where is that?
It's right over on Vinyl Haven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pretty cool little spots over there, isn't there?
And there's cool spots everywhere, you know, and it's just so many places that we say, wow, we should really get there, you know, and so one of these days, you know, we probably will. You know, we made it. We've actually been to a lot of places. You know, when everybody says, well, have you been here? And it says, yeah, been there.
Been there.
Done that. Like we've been out to Matinicus.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
Matinicus is sweet.
Well, dude, the guy last night, was it Jeremy? The one guy who was wearing the hat and sort of had the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
He's a lobsterman lives on Matinicus.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Multi-generational.
Yeah. Well, right. And it's such a cool place. And it's very, it feels intimidating to sail there.
Well, because it's such a storied place, and you know,
right?
It's not like the stories are all bad, but it's sort of you realize that's sort of the Wild West of mid-coast Maine,
right? But it's not that bad. I mean, it was a fun trip.
Yeah,
you know, and we got out there, we hung out on the island for a day, and
did you meet many locals?
We stopped at a couple stores and you know, and stuff. It was just cool, you know. Go into the bakery; it's all self-serve.
Oh, right.
You know,
yeah,
and the library was all self-serve.
Well, there can't be more than like 200 people live out there.
No,
right?
I doubt even
Probably
that.
not even that, yeah.
Stuff. And, you
but
know.
It's like the richest lobster.
Yeah, right.
It's like the center of the lobster world.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
You know, and we would do there. And, you know, we went up to, what's the place up by Castine, Holbrook Island.
Oh, okay.
It's another really nice place.
You could spend like a year just cruising Penobscot Bay, couldn't you?
Oh, the people we bought our boat from sailed up here for 40 years.
Really?
And they said they never got tired of it.
Well, there's just, I mean, it's insane how big this place is.
Yeah.
And there's the coastline is, I mean, if you want to find your own little cove, you're not going to have to go very far.
Right. And, you know, and then you always have, you know, go down east, you can go Roke Island or even up to Jonesport.
You ever make it past the border up into Nova Scotia?
No, we've never even been past Mount Desert.
Oh, really?
But that's, you know, it's like one of the things we're saving for, you know, one of the next adventure. The next adventure, I'm not as adventurous as you.
Well, I haven't been out. You're just a little more intelligent, a little less apt to just jump on and go for it.
But one of the things that I would love to do at some point is go from like here to Cape Cod. just spend
Oh,
go overnight
across the Gulf of Maine.
across the Gulf of Maine
Oh, yeah.
and
yeah,
go
yeah.
down. You could spend a week in Long Island Sound, turn around, and come back.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Well, and there's two ways to go about it. You can go head for the Cape Cod Canal, or you go around George's Bank.
yeah, right.
And I honestly, if you pick the right weather window, George's Bank is beautiful, especially at night, because the dolphins, the marine life,
Oh, right.
the phosphorescence are the brightest I've ever seen in my life.
Really? Wow.
And the only trouble is that sooner or later you're going to run through a scallop fleet, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. I mean, I suppose if it's not a solo sail, that makes it a lot easier because you can at least get some rest. When I'm approaching the Gulf of Maine and George's Bank, I know I'm in for 24 hours of no sleep until I get through at least one clump of fishing boats, and then typically once I get 4 or 5 hours away from George's, then I'm in the clear pretty much. Yeah.
But I just the overnight experience is kind of what was just looking for. It doesn't have to be far. 90 miles, something. I can scare my wife by talking about Bermuda.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, hey, where I would love to go, but I'd really want to be able to stop there, and I don't even know if you can, but Sable Island.
I have no where that is.
That's up off the coast of Nova Scotia.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure they must own it. But that's where they think the Andrea Gale went down in the perfect storm.
Oh, really?
It's a really, ominous sort of place.
Yeah.
But it has this crazy history. I think it was the Portuguese or the French that put a bunch of their prisoners on the island.
Oh,
and the island doesn't have anything, and they ended up eating each other and all this sort of stuff, and they brought these prisoners back to show the king after I don't know how many decades, and they were all wearing, goat skin clothing. They had beards and crazy hair, and the king actually gave them reparations. He was I don't know what we put you through. I'm so sorry. I don't know. Little bit of history right there. Well, what are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the things that you would warn somebody about? Say I had two friends down in South Carolina or something that wanted to get up here.
Well,
what would you warn them
Have
about?
good charts.
Yeah?
Because, the bottom here is not soft.
Well, what about, are you talking about paper charts or are you talking about electronic?
I have all electronic charts. Although I have a chart plotter, but I do have a chart book.
Yeah.
The one problem I find with chart plotters is they don't give you a big picture.
Yeah.
So I kind of like to say, where am I headed for when I'm...
Right. Instead of just weaving through this little place.
Yeah.
Where's the big,
Right. Where am I next to now? So I don't know. I found it so easy here. We sailed Lake Champlain for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came over here, I found it's almost exactly the same.
Do you get the fog there?
No,
as well?
they don't get fog. But the weather there is much worse than it ever gets here.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the ocean being this huge evil thing. And
The systems coming down from the Canadian Shield are ugly.
Well-
They hit the Great Lakes and then they come across. They can be
just
really
the
gross.
idea that the waves are, they're not huge, but they're close together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've had my boat be a submarine. It just augured through the front of the next wave.
And that's freshwater. Isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So it's
Right over the top of the Dodger or everything.
Right.
And stuff. And I was like, oops. It was only a 10-foot wave, but it's only 10 feet from the next one.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So-
Exactly. Well, and there is theories that, freshwater, your boat's just a little bit less buoyant
Right.
than in saltwater. So
Yeah.
take that as you will.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I find it's still pretty easy. Fog is definitely a hindrance.
It's a bit of an issue. What sort of electronics do you have dealing with that? Do you have radar?
We have radar.
And AIS?
I just bought AIS this year
Have
the money I made from the schooner.
Oh,
I said,
good
this
man.
is for boat parts.
That's your excuse for being able to take off and go do it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Have you used that yet?
Haven't even turned it on.
Oh, nice. What kind did you get?
It's a EM track.
Oh,
It
I don't
was.
know that one.
I don't know. I just looked online and bought one that seemed nice.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Stuff. And
I've got that icon
it has
over
the
there.
splitter built in.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, which
okay.
I thought I'm not dealing.
That's
paying
pretty nice.
Another
yeah.
$200 for a stupid splitter.
Well, that was the thing. I got that one. It's the top of the two black ones.
Oh.
And initially I bought the VHF, which said it was a VHF / AIS.
yeah, right. Standard Horizon. Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't quite turn out to be quite that without a whole lot of extra stuff.
Right.
So I ordered the other one, which is just standalone, but I still needed to get a splitter.
Right.
Yeah, so I was sort of like, golly. But it seems to work pretty well. They used to make one called a Mazutech, and I guess they went out of business, but I had bought one of those for the initial trip.
Yeah.
It just had a nice color display that, I don't know, it showed your track, it showed all this sort of stuff. It was really good, but
this doesn't
they don't
even
make them anymore.
This doesn't do anything. It's all just plugs into your chart plotter.
Oh, okay.
So it does
yeah.
all the AIS from your chart plotter, and
Gotcha.
I'm not even sure it works now because it's inside, and I'm kind of hoping the antenna will still get a signal.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll be able to sort it out. I've had to troubleshoot my stuff quite a bit.
Yeah.
So if it's not working, you let me know. I'll
Okay.
come running. But I've got my buddy Brian down in South Carolina. He gave me an old Garmin GPS, which is way newer than that Standard Horizon.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to have to, for the first time, try to integrate these systems. Which, wow. I wish I had my buddy
That's sort of
Pax.
the trouble. Yeah.
It's hard. I enjoy doing it because eventually I'll figure it out. But
Right.
sometimes I'm just like, somebody else do it.
That's always a cool thing about boating. You know, it's just like it presents you with these challenges.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden you solve it, and it's like, sweet.
I am the conqueror.
That's
Yes.
right. I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
know?
true. It's true. I don't
So-
know. I've always liked it. Oh, man. Well, so any big plans for the summer?
Not really.
Kicking back and cruising.
Kicking back in cruises. The wife is retired now.
Congratulations.
So now we don't have an end date in the fall.
Yeah.
So we could do anything. We had talked about maybe buzzing down to Long Island Sound.
A little Caribbean
and
action.
getting hauled down there, or maybe even the Chesapeake, or
the Caribbean.
the
maybe?
Caribbean.
No.
I guess probably say I'd have to try that once.
Yeah.
So the boat's been there. The boat's been to Cuba 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it used to be owned by a Canadian couple,
Oh, okay.
and so they could go to Cuba.
Well, I think we can go now.
I'm not sure, but
I believe so.
Yeah.
Who knows?
it's-
I remember it opened up. There was a big hubbub years ago where it was like, oh yeah, American boats can come in there now, but I don't know. It was one of those things where
but
there's
then
so
Trump
many islands
changed
on there.
that,
Maybe who knows?
and then Biden hasn't really let it off yet, or something. I don't know, but anyway.
Free love, man.
That's
Let's
right.
just let everybody go places. I'm really excited because this is the first time that I am going into a winter season feeling like I can go places again.
Right.
Like, places are open. If I go out to sea, if I see a place that I want to stop, I can actually go there. Because for the last couple of years, I really haven't felt that. It's sort of, you just never know what's going to happen. And if some variant or something's going to happen and people are going to get spooked, because the islands really do have to sort of be pretty careful, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know. It's so strange to think, just 2019 ago,
Yeah.
it was just like, yeah, where do I want to go? And
Right.
just bang, you go there and pay a little duty, and then you're in a country for a month, and it's like, yes, this is great.
Right.
So
Check it out. But-
yeah, right.
So
Who knows? But I'll tell you, I was so glad to see your boat was still up here, and I know you're sort of what I term in a very endearing way a yard rat.
yeah.
Like you're one of the guys, and there's quite a few who, we launch your boat, but you never quite really leave. We
That's
get
right.
to see you, which is great. I mean, because one place about this Night Marine here is that it's like a family place.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's what I love about it.
it's so much fun. I've been having just a ball working
Right.
up here. I keep telling them, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's middle of June, summer's almost over.
Right.
We gotta really take it in, because it is. It's gonna go by like nothing.
Oh yeah, right. It always does. So,
Always
and I
does.
work. I work in a marina pretty much just like this back in Vermont.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Where is that?
it's on Lake Champlain.
It's on Lake Champlain.
Yeah,
Huh?
and it's like the old marina. In fact, I never paid to have my boat in the lake because I work there.
Oh,
And it was
really?
like free haul, free storage, free mooring.
I'm gonna have to talk to Celia tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, I'm getting charged. No, they cut me a pretty sweet deal,
Yeah.
which is pretty nice. So, on Lake Champlain, though, obviously that thing freezes up, right?
Once every
much?
5 years or so.
Okay.
The bays will freeze.
What's the sailing season? When do people usually haul out?
Well, we haul everybody out by the end of October. We
Okay.
insist.
Yeah.
Because
so, like, we
I've-
don't want to be working on
I've
that.
skated on ice on decks on other people's boats, and I'm
Oh,
like,
I'll
I'm
bet.
not doing that.
Yeah.
And I've had to break ice to get out to my mooring and stuff in my dinghy. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
It's not worth it.
Not for
That's an
somebody else's
accident.
boat.
Yeah, it's an accident waiting to happen.
Right. So we insist that they have them all out by the 31st, but generally Columbus Day
Yeah.
or Indigenous Peoples Day or whatever. it is now.
Right.
We tell people that's the end of the season.
Well, it's pretty much up in northern Michigan. I mean, we just have a tiny boat because we're on a little inland lake, but out in Little Traverse Bay, which is Lake Michigan,
Yeah.
you know, most of the boats, you're pretty much not going to see anything. Even in September, the northwesterlies that come down, I mean, tankers come into Harbor Springs and just lay up there while
Right.
some of the storms roll through. So.
Yeah, because that's the only trouble with that time of year is, it can be great sailing, but also the weather can just turn horrible.
Yeah, it gets really bad.
So-
And there's something about fresh water just seems colder when it hits you in the face. I don't know what it is. Even in the Southern Ocean, that water never felt as cold as Lake Michigan in like April. Oh,
Oh yeah, well,
don't even. Yeah. We used to go camping in a place called Pictured Rocks up on Lake Superior.
uh-huh.
And after you're camping for 5 days, hiking around, you smell pretty bad. And I remember a couple of us went to jump in, and Lake Superior sits in the 30s.
Oh yeah,
Like all the time.
Yep.
It's just so big and cold and deep. And they have a saying that if you're too hot, just stick your big toe in there and you'll freeze to death. And we jumped in, and I've never felt that before, like where you lose all the air out of your lungs.
Right.
It's such a shock to the system. I mean, wow.
yeah.
But I don't know. I've never felt that out at sea. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Well, Russ, we're past the hour, bud.
Okay.
Goes by pretty fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty fun, though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pretty fun. Just pretty fun.
Well, yeah, it was fun.
No, it really is. I have to thank you because I know it's the most precious thing all of us have is our time.
Well, yeah,
Money, be damned.
Right.
Time, you can't buy.
that's right.
And to be able to steal an hour and 5 minutes of yours.
Well, it was nice to just be able to sit here and chat with you.
Hey,
So
absolutely.
it wasn't really a waste of my time.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. And like I said, I mean, it's great to have you back up here, both of you. And your wife she was so funny because I could tell she's sort of interested in doing the podcast, but she's like, well, what is it really about though? Is it all just sailing? Because chemistry and stuff, I want to hit all subjects. It's not all just
Yeah,
sailing
right.
for me.
Well, you
It's-
should definitely get her.
I think I should. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to try my best. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth.
Her lives might not be the same as my life. So.
Well, Russ, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. And I'm sure our listeners are going to absolutely love. This is the first interview I've had since Murph. So quite a good juxtaposition
Yes, there you
there. And maybe we'll have you back on at the end of the season.
All right.
You can talk about how it all went.
That's right. There you go.
All right. Thanks, Russ.
Yeah.